recently started getting ads for this Iris drawing compass, which I haven't actually opened yet, but it was pretty dang expensive. It's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. I've actually got a normal drawing compass here, missing a pencil. How embarrassing. Here's the pencil for it. But functionally, does it offer anything better or different than a normal compass? But more so, how does it compare to all these cheap Chinese ones that I keep finding on Amazon and eBay? Because originally, yeah, I want this, but I didn't want to spend $135, whatever, and that ended up being. So I looked for alternatives, and yeah, I found them, and they were like 20 bucks. So I looked on YouTube to see if someone had a comparison, and no one did. So I bought a cheap one on Amazon for 20 bucks, and I bought the legit Iris one. So this is the first time I'm actually looking at them. Let's see how they compare. So this is a cheap $20 one. It's like the same one all over on Amazon and eBay, probably all made in the same place by the same little children's hands. But of course, the way Amazon goes, you have a bunch of random people slapping bullshit made up name brands on everything, but it's the same product, just under different gibberish names. So got a couple screws and a channel there. Okay. Doesn't stick on its own, so I gotta so I gotta hold the outside with one hand and rotate it with the other. And initially it feels pretty all right. Feels a little grabby, but not terrible. In fact, let's see, I can't get it to close more than that. If I take it off, okay. That's about as tight as it'll go. How big is that hole? Let's have a look. Oh, and I moved while I was doing it. Let's try that again. So smallest circle. Actually, let's do a size comparison. Smallest circle and biggest circle. Why not? All right. I'm gonna grab some calipers. Smallest circle size I got was about 0.32 inches or 0.86 millimeters up to about 76.5 millimeters or 3.01 inches-ish. So, all right, that's the range of that. Got some wiggle in the parts there. Doesn't feel super sturdy, but all right, so that's the cheap one. Let's crack open the spendy guy. The presentation is so elegant, isn't it? All right. Let's see if I can open this without messing it all up too bad. All right. Ooh, definitely prettier. Comes with instructions. Let's read those together. Just kidding, that'd be boring. It actually looks smaller than the cheap one by quite a bit. And we got a wood stand for it, which I did see that this is a center finder as well. So if you put that in the middle of your dealy bob, that point should be the center of your circle. It's a little sloppy there. We'll do the same thing we did on the cheap one. Big circle, little circle. Okay, I can just see that that small circle is smaller. This also has like a rubber pad on the bottom, so that does kind of help it stay in place. I think it's a little bound up when I'm got the center that small. All right, is it stuck? There we go. I mean, standard white paper. It's still not moving very smoothly. Doesn't grip very good. So I definitely wouldn't trust to do this with one hand. I don't know, maybe it just needs some break-in. Oh, yeah, it's already moving smoother now. This does have this rough surface, which looks pretty nice. And that definitely helps get a grip on this one versus this one. There is no grip, it slides around. You pretty much have to two-hand this no matter what. But as far as smoothness, I'd say they move about the same. You can kind of feel the rattliness in the cheap one. This one feels a little more just solid. I think it's a little heavier too. On the back, you got that iris logo that comes together when the iris is in fact closed. Kind of a nice little touch. Some laser engraving branding on there. All right, so I want to draw some more circles. I've been playing with both of these for a little while now, and here's my thoughts. First of all, I don't really notice there's a little red arrow on there that tells you how wide in centimeters your circle is. That is kind of cool, and I didn't even see that at first. So let's draw a circle with this guy, the cheap one. Now let's get our expensive guy, see how well that works to measure the size of that circle we just drew. Let's see, this is all by eyesight, but I'd say that's about there. And we are at 3.3 centimeters-ish. Let's see how that matches up with the calipers. Okay. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty damn accurate. So I would trust that. That's pretty solid. Well, let's go all the way to 7. Oh, I guess it's opening it up all the way. So let's do 6. How about we close on the first one, get a common center, and then we'll open it up to 6. Okay, yeah, I like that little red arrow. That's kind of nice. And I'm just going to try to be as vertical to the paper as possible. So that was 6 centimeters according to the iris itself. So that should be about 60 millimeters. It's looking a little bit shy, but not by much. And I mean, I'm not really holding machining tolerances with my pencil on the paper. Let me try another one just in case that was just me. Yeah, we are dead on 6 centimeters. Let me just try my best again. See if I can maintain vertical. Okay, I think that's about as precise as one could realistically expect. And yeah, I mean, it's a little low, but like, yeah, the outside of my circle from that pencil stroke was just under a millimeter small than what the iris said. But I mean, for what are realistic expectations of this thing? I would say for what is realistic, that's pretty solid. Like, sure, better accuracy is nice. Let's see, what about this guy? Is this even marked? Okay, it is. You got it's a little less apparent. I really had to look for it. On the iris, it's red, so it's easy to see. Let's check the accuracy of this guy. Let's try 2, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll go up to 6. So there's 2. And let's see if close enough. All right. Let's see how it checks out. 2 centimeters is in fact, I'd say that's dead on. And then the 6 millimeter or 6 centimeter circle. This was 1.5 millimeters off. This was just under 1 millimeter off in the other way. So based on that, precision would go to this, but I wouldn't really trust either of them for super critical size measurements. But again, splitting hairs, what are you really doing with these? I'd say for anything practical, those measurements are plenty useful on either of them. One thing I've noticed is the actual ring that you create is closer to the paper on the Iris brand one. It's really obnoxious that this slides around so easily. I definitely like the Iris for having that grip on the bottom and it being a little more heavy. But anyway, distance to the paper. If I look at the actual metal blades, if I go from the top of those to the paper, 3.82 millimeters on the cheapie, and we are, yeah, right around 2 millimeters on the Iris. There's a little bit of flex in them, but yeah, it's absolutely closer to the paper on this one. So as far as keeping your pencil vertical and guided by that Iris, I think you're going to be a little more accurate with this one than this one, just being a little closer to the paper. Again, not a huge deal. Yeah. Oh, one other thing you can do with these is measure diameters. So, want to know how big around a Sharpie is? Come on. Tighten up. Struggling to get it to grab it. There we go. Well, according to this, just over 1 centimeter in diameter. So yeah, anything round that you can get over the end of, a couple things come to mind. Yeah, that's telling me just over 1 centimeter. Yeah, you can measure stuff. I don't really see any practical use to that personally. I think if I was doing that, I would just grab calipers. Seems a little faster. But it's a thing. All right, so all in all, these pretty much turned out exactly how I expected. I didn't notice that this has more blades, so this actually has 20 of those Iris blades. I don't know if that's what the technical term is, whereas this one has 16. So when you're doing the bigger circles, you might start to notice, well, I don't know, maybe it's not even the big circles. It's almost like medium circles is when the flat spots or the arcs of the blades are off from the radius of the circle you're trying to draw by the most. It's pretty meaningless, but you can barely kind of see the lines forming with the cheap one. With the spendy guy, it looks like, at least to my eye, the lines become a little more prominent right there. And yeah, it's not really a big deal, not a make or break thing. It really just seems like it's a lot of little things. The accuracy of the radius gauge here, it's a little more accurate here based on this sample set of 1 each. It's a little closer to the paper. It's got a little more resolution in terms of the amount of blades. So a lot of little improvements on this one and a little bit more sloppiness on this one. But again, I mean, it's just, in practicality, a pretty small amount. Yeah, the biggest useful difference is the fact that this just has this non-slip pad, this rubber pad on the bottom, and that it's like dense. It's like kind of heavy and small. This one's a little more, feels a little more, I don't know, flimsy and airy, less dense, I guess. And then, yeah, it has no pad, so it would probably be a little annoying to use for any real world type application just because it can move on you so easily. This one, like, does a lot better at just staying put. Yeah, so this is definitely more usable if you plan to use it. Yeah, in a practical sense, I don't know that it's really much better than a traditional compass for a lot of things, like this guy. I mean, I can definitely draw circles all day with this guy too, but Yeah, it moved on me, but this is a pretty cheap compass of this style too. Probably made it the same factory as this. I like the Iris. I mean, I think it's really more of just a cool mechanical piece for me. I think I will use it doing some industrial design drawings and things like that. If I just really want to get a perfect circle or make a concentric circle on top of an existing circle I might have drawn. Yeah, it's nice and it's fun to use and it's cool. Definitely feels higher quality than this guy, but is the price difference warranted? I mean, it seems to be pretty typical of what you'd expect. You're paying a lot more money to just have it dialed in and just have refinements and just have a nicer thing. This definitely feels cheap and mass-produced, and it's a little sloppier. So if I was using it for actual design work or drafting or something, yeah, I would definitely want the edge of the Iris just being a little finer of an instrument. But as far as cool factor, if you just want to mess around with the Iris mechanism, sure, this suits that need. But yeah, I like nice stuff, and I like to buy stuff that I'm reasonably confident wasn't made in a sweatshop. So yeah, I'm a fan. This is just like a really cool, nice little tool. This is cheap, and I will probably give it to a child for free. So there you go. Hopefully that overview kind of gives you the gist of what these are all about, and see you around.